everyone, I'm Brandon from Zade Comics, artist and co-creator on Magic Cop, which is shipping this month in March, and you guys can get your hands on it on Indiegogo.com. Just search for Magic Cop and you guys can place your order right there. I'm also just one half of the two best looking brothers in all of comics, and today we're doing another movie poster breakdown where we take a dive into a movie poster and check it out from a graphic artist's point of view. So let's see what we have to look at today. So we're going to be looking at the movie posters for the 2020 release film for No Time to Die, and we're also going to be looking at the 1962 movie poster for the movie Dr. No. I thought this would be a really interesting one, as I believe Dr. No is supposed to come back in this newer Bond film. So we take a look at the old Dr. No Bond movie poster as well, and we can see a clear line right between these two in design and not quality, but just graphic design influence and just stylistic choices altogether. I love this one on the left. Everybody, if you guys watched the show, fans of the show will know that I really love this painted, stylized style that these older movie posters had, whereas the newer movie posters will generally use like photography or CG or something like that. We can see here, let's start with the one on the right. So for No Time to Die, it's a very, very simple movie poster. And we have your character here looking off frame, very classic, and we just have a very, very easy to read typeface for the title of the movie on here. And this is a very classic typeface. It is reminiscent of old Bond movies, although I can't recall exactly what it's from, but it is a very classic looking font, and very, very easy to read, very stylized though. This font is on all of the posters, and almost all of the domestic United States movie posters are simply just character posters, whether it's James Bond on the poster here or any of the other characters. Basically, they're just standing in front of a camera, being picture being taken of them. This one here could be a studio shot photo specifically meant for the poster, or it could be a scene from the film itself. But that being said, there's not a ton of stuff going on here. You know, the eyes looking off frame. We have the character who's wearing his clothes, so you're setting up, you know, the Bond character here. And some of the other posters, he's wearing something a little bit more tactical. Here, I think they're showcasing that it is classic James Bond with the tuxedo. We have in the background here this blue, and then the orange-esque wall underneath it, though I am not sure if they're going for the blue and orange on here because there's virtually no orange. It looks like they're doing kind of a blue and gold theme, even with the other posters. So this one does keep up with that, you know, showing a like a psychological movie, you know, and then it is also inherently a Bond movie. We have the small subtext down here, and then we have, you know, the release date. Not too much going on in this poster. Again, you know, no taglines, no giant action scenes or anything like that. It seems like this is it might be like a thinking man's James Bond movie, which could be pretty interesting, and I think that's probably what's being established here on this poster. Let's look over at the classic 1962 poster here for the film Dr. No. Totally different style here. We have multiple characters. We even have some characters down here in a different style entirely, and then we have the villain off to the side who's just halfway on the poster, which is a really, really interesting use of design on here. Very classically, you know, 1960s, 1970s framed off. So we have that going on, which is a very old, I mean, they use it now still, but when they use it now, it's because they used it back then. It's a very old technique of framing your poster, where you could have all of this information kind of outside the frame of the image, although they do put a lot of text up here in the main image because they have a lot of empty area with this yellow. Of course, everybody knows yellow is a very, very good eye-catching color. It's very cheap promotionally, so you can just invest a lot in yellow. It's going to grab the attention of somebody walking past. They're going to see what that is. They have a lot of sex appeal here on this poster, so you're going to get that yellow, and you're going to get these curvy women here on the thing, because see James Bond being the ladies' man, they're really showing that off here, especially since this is the first James Bond film, which is what we get here at the top in red, bold letters, just as bold as the title of the movie, which is almost as large as the fact that Sean Connery is in this movie. So that's a pretty interesting aspect of these posters, from back in the day. Here it doesn't say Daniel Craig or anything on this poster on the right, which is interesting, whereas here, I would imagine, James Bond being a popular novel series at the time, it was a big deal when these James Bond movies were going to come out, and this was going to be the first one, so they really wanted to hit it home with, their actors and as much information as they can get off onto this thing. And I think the use of yellow on here is really good because it contrasts against this red really, really well. You can easily have a white frame around it to give it a nice offset from any other information or any other posters that are around it. This is pretty cool how they have this character, the villain, who's in black and white down at the bottom. He kind of fades off into this whiter area that's outside of this border, which is really interesting. He actually breaks away from the panel down here where everybody else is kind of limited to that space in here, except for this. And then, you have these women, which are obviously very attractive, which is going to be a good draw into here. We have a really cool cascading effect with these women going on as well, which is kind of leading us around this poster. Or we could be led up, from these characters if we started down here, which probably wouldn't start down here, as this is like the most mundane part of the poster. Overall, we could be led to James Bond. We can be led down to the title. This is a pretty cool cascading effect that we have with these women here, especially with their stances. They're all doing like the power stance, except for this one who is really showing off the curves down here. I find this part down here really interesting. This is almost not necessary at all. I believe this is from the movie, and then they kind of had it done in charcoal. I don't know why that's there other than to possibly just fill the space. I feel like that's probably exactly what's going on, because it doesn't really work here on this poster at all, especially with the completely different art style. Like, this is a photograph, which is fine. You have all of these pieces of art here, which are done painted style. And then you go down here and it's just like a charcoal piece with no colors in it whatsoever. Very, very interesting. Really outstanding as far as anything else on this poster. Kind of unusual. Very unusual. So, just looking at these two, you can see very much the change between, something like the 1960s all the way up until 2020. We go through these evolutions of art styles, and it's changed so much. Here we have a single character. We're not really showcasing any directors or other actors or actresses on the poster, or anything like that going on. We have some production companies down here, and that's about it. This poster here on the right barely says, it doesn't even say James Bond on it. It barely says 007, which is what we have here. It doesn't say anything about Ian Fleming. It's just a very, very simple poster. I think probably they are relying on the audience already knowing who James Bond is. He's been established for well over 60 years, and I think that, by doing it like this, we're getting something much cleaner. But, to me, it's less intriguing. I look at this No Time to Die poster, and it doesn't really entice me into seeing this movie about this guy walking around in a tuxedo. Whereas here on the left, the yellow brings me in, the bright red is intriguing. We have a suave guy in a tuxedo, similar to the Daniel Craig character over here. He has a gun that's smoking. He obviously just shot the gun. He looks like a cool guy because he's smoking a cigarette. And then we have these, beautiful women here off the side. And then, we find out that it's a James Bond film, which is interesting. So I think there's a lot of interesting things going on here. Personally, I would not have this. I would probably have stretched this out more. Maybe No would have been bigger, and then Doctor. And then, maybe I would have done something a little bit different with the Dr. No character on here. But I like this poster much more on the left. I think the design elements of it are better overall. I think the one on the right is too simple. I think it's kind of cheaply done. I think they're trying to send a message, but the message is not interesting enough for me to want to go see the movie, which is obviously counterproductive to what we're trying to go on here. Of course, we've only looked at this one poster, but like I said before, most of the domestic posters for the United States are simply character posters of them standing in front of a wall or something and looking directly at the camera. So those are also not so interesting either. Whereas here we have some personality, even though this kind of doesn't really make any sense on the poster, we have a little bit of a scene from the movie. We have your villain showcase here off to the side, and then we have this nice eye candy here to bring us into the film, which is going to make us interested in the suave nature of James Bond himself. So, some cool elements going on over here, not so much cool elements going on the No Time to Die poster. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Personally, I would like to go back to the older poster designs, but how do you guys feel about it? Do you like the new, cleaner, sleek design? A little bit less busy, a little bit less information on here, kind of more of a wall piece rather than a promotional piece. So let me know what you guys think. And as always, thank you guys for watching. If you guys like the video, please like it below and subscribe to the channel, because we do streams and we put out videos every day. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.